Hello everyone, this is Steve Yoder. Welcome to week 4 in Legal Studies 246 in the fall of 2016 here at the UAB Collat School of Business. This week we are looking at the role of the United States Constitution in the regulation of business. We have our usual learning activities, read a textbook chapter, in this case textbook chapter 4. We have 2 sets of narrated slides. Remember that you should print out the slides and take notes on them while watching the narrated slides. There are a few extra articles and videos for you to look at, and there is a quiz due at the same time that the final quiz in this learning module is due Sunday night, October 2nd at 11:59 p.m. Remember always to check the wrap-up page in a learning module to make sure that you have done everything. There are several sections of the United States Constitution. Some were in the Constitution originally in 1789 when it was written, and some were in the Bill of Rights that was added a few years after that affect business. The Commerce Clause, the power to tax and spend that is given to the United States Congress, the clause that says that the United States Constitution and the laws of the United States are the supreme law of the land, and the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. The Commerce Clause has been used over the years to enable Congress to regulate business. Sometimes it has been very successfully and maybe surprisingly used, and then at other times it has not been successfully used to regulate business. What is usually successful as a provision of the Constitution that allows Congress to regulate business is the power that the Constitution gives to Congress to tax us, and that in fact was the section of the Constitution that the Supreme Court found was the source for giving Congress the power to pass the Affordable Care Act. The Supremacy Clause says that if a state were to try to pass a law that is in the same field as a federal law, the federal law will preempt the field and push the state law out of the way. That's what happened, for example, a few years ago when Michigan attempted to regulate mortgages at the same time that a federal law, the National Bank Act, regulated mortgage lending in the same way. The Bill of Rights affects businesses in several ways: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and we will be looking at those. For example, tobacco companies, do they have the right to free speech? Do they have the right to say, you can't make us speak in the way that the Food and Drug Administration wants us to speak in these very gruesome packs on cigarettes? And we will be looking at what the Supreme Court said in 2013 on that subject. Finally, we will be looking at equal protection, the clause in the Constitution that says that the government must provide equal protection for everybody. What does that mean when a government agency, such as the University of Michigan, gives preferential treatment to one part of the population, in this case to African Americans applying to the University of Michigan? Be sure that you have set up your notifications in your account so that you are getting announcements in this course. Thank you for those of you who responded last week to the extra credit opportunity. Mike Hubbard, who you can see here in jail after he was found guilty of ethics violations. Yes, ethics violations are considered crimes. He was found guilty after mixing his public duties as a representative in the Alabama House of Representatives with his private interests in a consulting firm and a lobbying firm. Here is an extra credit opportunity for the first exam for 2 points. Send me a Canvas mail message. Make sure that you also send it to Dalton Bradshaw, the teaching assistant. Tell me which part of the Constitution did critics of Clemson coach Dabo Swinney point to and say that he had violated when he tried apparently to use his Christian faith in Clemson's football program.